Yeah, okay. I remember that.
In fact, I read what you said. I read it as Vadhuvara.
Okay.
I didn't understand what it was.
Correct. Correct. So, yeah, Shaiva Siddhanta. That is the name you have to remember. So, our entire tradition comes from the Vedas. Vedas is our mother, and there are many languages in India, many regions, and each region has their own kind of regional shastra. Okay, everybody need not know Sanskrit, and there are Gujarati, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, so many languages are there. So the shastram is there in their own language, and many saints those regions have written texts which are as sacred as the Vedas. Correct? And so, like that, here we have there's a Shaiva Siddhanta. Like this, there are many Siddhantas woven around these texts. And there are these Shaiva saints who praised Shiva as the Paramatma, as the Ishvara. And they have written a lot of slokas, like Krishna said here, and written a lot of poems. Now, these saints, there are many saints. So we say Thirugnana Sambandar. Okay. Then Appar Tirunavakarasu. And then Manikya This is all Tamil Nadu related. Okay. And then Sundaramurti
Sundara.
Nayanar. So, like this, you have many saints. And if you go to many big Shiva temples like Kapaleshwar Kovil in Mylapore in Chennai, you will find they're called Aravatti Mover. 63 saints they say. So 63 saints. So you have all their murtis on the wall like this. I mean, they have murtis right there on the outside part of the temple. Kapali temple is a huge temple. So now they are all saints who have said, who have talked about the Shastram, and it is all it is sacred Shastram called Tevaram. Tevaram. This Tevaram has some 11, 12 volumes of poems, and each volume being 1,000 plus poems written by these saints. Now, the other day we saw an example, right? I gave the example of this child playing with the toy wooden elephant. Remember that? How many of you remember that? Yeah, so all of you remember it. So that is also from this same Devaram. So Marattai Maraitadu Mamadayyanai, Marattil Maraindadu Mamadayyanai Ityadi. We saw that before. And so that is written by this Tirumular, another saint. And his works are called Tirumandiram, which is part of this Devaram. Now, what happens is, this tradition, the way it was preserved is, in every Shiva temple, these poems are to be sung. Whenever the puja is completing, just before the Harati time, they will sing. They will sing these poems for several minutes. And big temples means it will go on for a long time. And those singers are called Oduvars. That singer is called an Oduvar. That person who does not do the puja of Shiva, puja karne ko to, there are people there, they're doing pujas. This person is just sitting there outside. His job is not to do anything else, but when the time comes, that person has to sing this Tevaram. Okay, that person is called Oduvar. Odudal. So Odugal means offering. The literal meaning is offering. And Oduvar is one who offers. That is the literal meaning of that word Oduvar. And so puja happens 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, and every time that person has to be there chanting this. So it used to be the tradition, and they were all supported by kings. And then what happened? Of course, the state support is lost, and so this tradition died down to a point where there are just countable number of Oduvars in Tamil Nadu today. 100, 150 max. And can you believe this? So then our Swamiji, Puja Swamiji, started this tradition, wanted to revive that tradition. And so he created a support system for them. And he collected all of them, invited them for a meeting, and conducted a program, and then selected several people of them, and provided for their monthly salary. And by raising funds, etc., he helped raise funds from US, from India, and then they were supported. And so that is how this started reviving. And then they had to now go back to their temples and then get engaged, connect with the temple. Each person is connected to several temples. And so all that happened. And then Swamiji transferred that responsibility to Srinivasanji, who is one of the trustees of our Arsha Seva Kendram. And he is continuing that every year, conducting programs, and then recreating that teaching tradition. These Oduas have to teach and create more Oduas, correct?
Yeah.
And so, not an easy task. You put an advertisement and you say, okay, all children who want to chant this, learn Tevaram, please come. How many people are coming? Very few. Oduas, children themselves are not interested in becoming Odua. That's how the thing has become. It's very, very sad. So we are trying to turn the tide here. We are praying to Ishvara so that he may turn the tide. And so fortunately now the interest is there, and the Oduas are also inspired. And now some of them, they themselves conduct these programs in wherever they are, and they are able to attract devotees, and they are themselves raising funds for this. And so like that in a few places. Yesterday you saw, those of you who saw the program on Saturday, and Harihara Oduvar, who was there sitting right in the front, and that person who had a garland, that one person had a garland, if you remember that. So he is doing wonders in Erode. When he does a program, I went to this program 2 years ago to Erode. He conducted it in a temple. 2,500 people were there in the temple. The temple was a big temple. Huge crowd was there, and people were just ecstatic. They were just, when that whole tradition just comes back, and they were all dancing, and they were just praying, and they were crying, and they just, and then food, they prepared food for everybody. And so it was just beautiful to see all this. And so this is that tradition, Oduvar. So in short notice, we organized this program on Saturday, and they all came to Srinivasanji's home. And because we can't, this question of hiring a hall and this and that does not arise. And so it was good that we had a 1 hour, 1.5 hour program at about 4 o'clock our time, India time, in the afternoon. Then following that, there was a program which is a little more elaborate, and it was meant for the folks in the US to join in. Normally the US group, Swaminathanji, conducts this program around this time of the year in New Jersey, New York area. And so this time it was an online program. So that's the background, Haraprasad. Hope this helps all of you.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Maheshji, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment that in Meenakshi temple a couple of years ago, they installed these deities of all the 363 Nayanmars and 11 Alvars, and with the names, and so that the kids and people who live here know about this Shaiva tradition. And when you were here in Houston, you may remember there was a gentleman named Nagan Srinivasan.
Yes.
He used to sing this Thevaram in the Meenakshi temple after the evening Aarti. So
correct. Yeah, now the Nagan Srinivasanji, I remember very well. And okay, so they installed the
that's a couple of years, maybe a year and 2 years ago, maybe. something like that. In the
I
outer
see.
prakaram, they did it with, so they do with a name and all that, so people know what they are referring to or
Okay.
whom they are referring to. So
Okay.
one side is 63 Nayanmar, the other side is the Alvars, because that is a Vaishnavite, similar
Similar Vaishnavite tradition, Alvars. Right.
tradition.
Yeah.
That's-
Excellent. Yeah.
Nagan Srinivasan is no more. You may know that. He
Yeah, I
passed
heard
away.
that. I heard that. Just yeah. So Bala Ayarji and others, we were on a meeting yesterday, and so I heard that a few days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than a year, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Anyway.
Thanks, Mahesh. Okay, Prasad is there. Yeah. Go ahead, Prasad.
I can, because we are coming to the chapters, end of chapter 2, my question is on jnana. So the jnana, if I define it as the scriptural knowledge of the Atman, which I mean by the impersonal non-dual Brahman, then in my understanding, if through vritti, if I get the knowledge, jnana, that is within my mind, if revelation happens. Yeah? So the spiritual realization of the Atman, whether it is the personal God realization, if I think it as, because it's happening in my, through vritti in my mind. So I understand if it is, you may say that, okay, in terms of philosophical frameworks, it could be the same, what has been defined as a scriptural definition, the same thing in the mind. But in other words, I'm coming like, what is jnana and vijnana? So my vijnana is in my mind, which is happening that through vritti, I understand what is consciousness, right? The non-dual Brahman. But it could be the personal revelation, personal God revelation. But then in terms of frameworks, it could be defined as Advaita. But I should have the understanding without confusion that this Vijnana is nothing but the same as that Jnana, that it is a non-dual Brahman, or it is the personal God.
Yeah. So yeah, so Vijnanam and Jnanam, at this point, there will be no difference between Jnanam and Vijnanam. So we say Jnanam, Vijnanam to differentiate what? There is a time when one understands this, right? Begins to understand it. This is not a difficult thing. This is not a difficult thing at all. Once I met Swamiji, and when I some introductory time, and Swamiji said, "Oh, you're an engineer. This is not going to be difficult for you." I mean, I think he was just talking to me, but point was that this is not. This is a rational discussion, so it can't be difficult. And after some point, you begin to see it. So the jnanam, there we use the word jnanam to say that you've heard aham brahmasmi, you've heard aham, sarvam khalvidam brahma, you've already attended classes, so you know already there is some knowledge. That knowledge is called jnanam. Then vijnanam means that complete clarity is there. I am Atma, Jagat Brahma, Jagan Mithya, Brahma Satyam. Correct? There is no doubt about these things. And that is called Vijnanam. Okay? So in that context, Jnanam and Vijnanam appear to be different. But finally, there is only one knowledge. Finally, there is knowledge of the rope. Whether you call it knowledge or whether you call it Vijnanam or Jnanam or any other language you use, it's all the same thing. And the point is, there is clarity or there's not much clarity. Clarity is building or clarity is there. These are the only two possibilities, right? Clarity is developing and full clarity will be there. Correct? That is the only way we differentiate it. And so this personal God, etc. So Ishta Devata, personal God. So those things don't apply because we are talking about Brahma, that is all pervasive. And Ishta Devata is relevant to me for my sadhana. And so that is the way we should look at it. Okay.
Am I right if I say that Jnana is knowledge, Vijnana is knowledge that is experienced, like
Yeah.
wisdom, the
Who-
difference
who's-
between wisdom,
Who is talking?
the Satya,
Oh, sorry.
Satyanarayana.
Yeah, it just takes a little
Yeah.
while for me to identify the person on the screen. So
Yeah, Satyanarayana Chilukuri from Houston.
yeah, go ahead.
The way it is described from at least my understanding is there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom in the sense knowledge is simply acquisition of the literary meaning of something, whereas wisdom is something that you experience and acquire that knowledge, or you acquire the knowledge and experience that knowledge. So the difference is experience that makes wisdom is different from knowledge.
Okay. So good. So it's an important point, and so this is whatever you said. I must gain knowledge of something. Some recipe is there. I must gain the knowledge. I know very well how to make Mysore pak, but it's great knowledge. But it doesn't appease my salivating tongue is still there, and it doesn't appease my knowledge of Mysore pak does not help me at all. My knowledge of how to construct bridges does not help me unless I actually go and do something. This bridge doesn't exist and the river continues to flow. Nobody can cross the river. Okay, so this is our idea of knowledge. It is theory, it must be practiced. It is theory, it must be experienced. Correct? This is the our experience. We don't know anything else beyond this. So this is why I gave this example the other day. A person looks at a snake and runs away, and you catch a hold of him and say, wait a minute. And then you tell him, wait a minute, where are you running? Did you see carefully? It's not a snake, it's a rope. What? It's a rope. Now look. No, I can't look, it's a snake. So that's why you need a trusted person. You need a person who is trusted. Only then the person can calm down. This is why this guru and all will come. And the person who trusts, whom you can trust, comes and says, no, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Just turn around slowly and look. And then that person turns around slowly. So Shraddha is there. Shraddha is there. Why? Shraddha, okay, what this person says, I'm very sure it's a snake. Okay. Why you're talking nonsense? It's not. What are you talking? Run away. You and I, both of us should run. Otherwise, let's leave me alone. I will run. No. So Shraddha is there. The person turns. He sees a rope. Now tell me, what should the person do now? Person has gained the knowledge of the vastu. Here vastu we are going to say. Okay. And does the person have to experience the rope? The person has to lift the rope and do something. It's theory, right? Is it theoretical knowledge? Or what? We give this example to say knowledge liberates. This is very different. So I think what we have to say is this is knowledge is not like all the medical school knowledge you have gained. I think you're a doctor, so I can say that, Satyaji. And all the engineering school knowledge I have gained. And there is no experience involved here. The minute you say I have to experience, then you are experiencing an object. You are the experiencer. There is an object which is to be experienced. A object is you. Experiencer is you. Where is the question of experiencing? You are experiencing Brahma every minute of the day. You don't know it. You are experiencing Brahma only. Every experience that we have is Brahma only. There's no question of a new experience. Brahma is being experienced. So we will talk more about this. This is the paradigm shift, if I can say, Satyaji. Okay? Paradigm shift we are talking about. So begin thinking along those lines. We will have more opportunity to look into this. Okay.
Thank you.
So, if I understand, Jay Kumarji, so Satyaji is saying, so if the knowledge and the wisdom, yes, thank you. So the wisdom, if it is the pure consciousness, and what happens in my mind is sort of Brahma Jnana, then its knowledge and wisdom are different, but it become one because I got the wisdom same as my the Brahma Jnana is same as the about the pure consciousness, about the Swarupa of the pure nature of the Atma itself. So they become one and the same in my mind, right? See, otherwise, what I was distinguishing is like what is happening in my mind is different from the pure consciousness.
Exactly.
Early.
Exactly. Nothing is different from pure consciousness. Nothing is different. Everything is consciousness.
Mhm.
And so that knowledge has to take place, and then it disappears. It does the job and it goes away. Okay, it does the job and goes away. All that remains is consciousness. The knower is consciousness, the known is consciousness, knowledge is consciousness. And so even the fear of forgetting, sometimes you have this question, right, Prasadji? What happens? I've studied a lot, but I have also forgotten a lot. Forgetting is there. What happens if somebody is in coma? They're in coma, they come out, and then they cannot recognize their children, etc. All this happens. So that knowledge can be lost. That question can be there. So we say those possibilities don't exist for this. Because this is Paravidya. Everything else is Aparavidya. Everything is about an object that is different from you. So they talk about Akhandakara Vritti, etc. A lot of technical discussion is there around that. So yes, everything is consciousness. Ocean, everything is water. The wave has to see that it is water. First and foremost, it is water. Number one. Second, the wave has to see that every other wave is water. Third, the wave has to see that, oh my God, how was I born? Oh, I was born of the ocean. Samudra. Samudra also is water. The entire Samudra is water? Yes. Entire Samudra is water. Pacific water, Atlantic water, Indian water, wherever you go, it's water, water, water. Therefore, the wave says, I am water, first and foremost. Taken a form of a wave, but I am water. Wave will disappear anytime. Body will fall anytime. I have no control over it. But I, the water, remains. I am that water. I am not the body. I am not the wave. Wonderful, Prasadji, correct? And so that knowledge is possible. How do we know it's possible? Well, Shastram says, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha, Jnanena Sadrisham Pavitram Vidyate. Krishna is going to say that later to Arjuna. And then, of course, we see that knowledge in people. And so that is the way we look at it, Prasad.
I have a fundamental question always bothers me. So if we are, I mean, every philosophical framework, uh, they had taken it from the original text, which is Veda. Now, how is that they differed when translating that? When it comes to the Vyavaharika level, where in the world view, now somebody calls it as personal God, the other one is like the non-dual Atman, right? So that difference has come, but again, it is already, it's always referring to the same source, which is Veda.
Yeah, that is always possible. The same physics textbook is there. Suppose I interview 10 people and come on, tell me what is diffusion. If I say 10 people will give me 10 different definitions. Different understandings are there about the same concept. That is how it is. That is the beauty of anything that is written or said, and it's all understood differently. So that freedom is there. Fortunately, Vedantis are not jihadis, so we don't go around collecting. So we are not. We are saying, okay, you can have your view, and as long as you're happy, we are also happy. Don't bother me. That is all. That is enough. We are happy with that, and so therefore, if you carefully look at everything else, there will be a belief involved. It's a belief. So belief about travel, belief about existence of a particular entity somewhere, etc. So that is the uniqueness of Vedanta. There is no belief involved in this.
But I could take it a different way, that because based on their own philosophical framework, for example, when revealing Gita or giving Bhashya on Gita, they could impose the philosophical framework in understanding, for example, between Jnana and Vijnana itself, right? I mean, because when Advaita Vedanta, it tries to say that it is non-dual Brahman. And when it goes to Dvaita or Ramanujas, they will say that it is a personal God. So since there is already a philosophical framework, when giving the Bhashya on, for example, what we are reading today is based on the Advaita Vedanta. Now, the same Gita could be in a different way because based on the other philosophical framework. So I could actually impose my framework onto giving the Bhashya on the Gita. So that's a possibility.
That's
Yeah,
always
absolutely.
possible.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. One can project our own idea of reality into the sentences that are available for us to read.
Yeah.
One can. That is why we have different philosophies. And so Swamiji will say that. So that's why the pramanam, understanding pramanam, is so crucial in this. And Pramanatvam. Veda is a pramanam. We keep saying periodically, but we may not really understand what it is. Pramanam, when you say, it only reveals what is. It doesn't make you travel and this and that. Not possible. It reveals what is, just like the eyes will only reveal what is. That is the job of a pramanam. So better we understand what Veda is. It's then you say, no, Veda is a pramanam for Vishnu, who is in Vaikuntha, and you do the things exactly as the Veda says, you will go to Vaikuntha after death. This is Vishishta Advaita, right? So I am part of the whole. You cannot be the whole. Come on. That's an idiotic statement. How can you be the whole? And you have just come to me and you are an individual and you are the whole. You say you are the whole. It is not acceptable. That's ridiculous. So these ideas will come. So clearly it is all there. Nothing is, we don't have anything against that. We are saying you think it through. We give a lot of importance to the buddhi that is there in the person who is listening. A lot of importance, so much importance that you have to think it over. We cannot think for you. You have to think it over. And I'm not saying others are not thinking, etc. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that this is because we are talking about you. Why we say it's a fact? Because it is you. You are not different from Ishvara. That's it. You have to deal with that statement, Prasadji. You have to deal with this. Everybody else has to deal with this statement, correct? They can't deal with it. They say, no, you're not Ishvara. How can you be Ishvara? Tell me. I have all kinds of problems. You're telling me I'm Ishvara? And Ishvara is all pervasive. And I'm here sitting somewhere in one corner and nobody knows my existence also. And you're telling I'm Ishvara? This is the logic they give. Yes. If you take the I to be the body, that is a correct statement. Where is the question? The wave has to be made to see that the wave is water, first and foremost. That itself, I have a problem. There itself, I have to use my buddhi, correct? Wave has to use the buddhi to see wave is water. Otherwise, it takes the wave as the reality and it suffers and it wants a savior. The savior idea comes from there. Correct? Please save me. Yeah, obviously, the wave has to be saved. There's no choice. The wave becomes has to seek help. Helpless. Every wave is helpless. Every human being is helpless. Why? Because that is how it is. We're all small, puny things in this whole universe. And so all those things become very attractive because I get consolation. We all need, we all need to be cuddled. I think somebody has to come and say, "Don't worry, you're okay. I'll take care of you," and then we feel good. This is a mindset, Prasad. This is not anybody's problem. This is how our human beings are. All my problem, your problem is all identical only. And so we have to come out of where Vedanta is bringing us out of that mindset that I need somebody to protect myself. Protect this idea, we have to come out of it. That's why it's a different ball game altogether. Okay, so that's a duality. The duality idea is always there. I need somebody to protect me. Therefore, duality makes a lot of sense. God is in heaven makes a lot of sense. Heaven is different from earth. That also makes a lot of sense because I see all kinds of stuff here. On top of the pandemic also. Until now, I did not hear the word pandemic. Now I got another new word, pandemic. Oh my God. So this oh my God continues day after day. So that mindset has to change. We have to bring a change in the mindset and begin thinking about this Mahavakya, etc. And so your answer to your question is one can project any idea on the Vedas, on any sentence. You can interpret it in any way. So it's a powerful, it's a blessing. At the same time, you have to, the person who says, no, I need to know more, if you say, and one has to think through this. That's the way we look at it, Prasad.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Yeah. All right. Good. So we will pause with that. We will chant Dhanvantari mantra. I'm muting all of you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalasahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokyanathaye Shri Mahavishnave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalasahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokyanathaye Shri Mahavishnave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalasahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokyanathaye Shri Mahavishnave Namaha.